Coming up on Kingdom Conversation.
She rounded up her backup. Come on. We gonna go confront Moses. And God was like, everybody out for 10. Yeah. Everybody. I'm about to settle this right now.
One day I was on fire and I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, listening from the Lord, doing right. And then the next day I was over there.
Submission is not easy. I don't know what you're talking about.
Miriam, she was a leader because a lot of time you hear about, Moses and Aaron and a lot of their influence and impact that they had over building, the nation of Israel in the desert. But, even in Malachi, he mentions how Miriam was also there. She was also a leader and a prophet over them and helped to build that nation along with them. Mm-hmm. And, you don't hear as much about her as much as you do of Aaron and Moses's act, but she was also present and active as a leader over this whole nation of people. Yeah. So she was a politician in her own right.
Right. When I started reading on it, I realized that not only she was a songstress, because she was a songstress too. Yes. He's saying she was a prophet as well. So if you think about it, she was the first lady prophet. Mm-hmm. Because she was the first lady prophet. And then she was a psalmist. She had a lot going on.
She led praise and worship and everything.
She grabbed that tambourine. She was like, let's go.
She was the first one to lift up the joy from the Lord. We got to leave y'all. Okay, yeah. So, she was the first Levite, wasn't she?
She was the first Levite because she grabbed that tambourine. She started praising the Lord with the tambourine. She was a prophet. Mary had a lot going on, and they don't give her justice like nation.
No, they don't give her as much credit. They gave her Malachi made sure he mentioned her. Right. But I would say one thing: Miriam did have a prejudice problem. Yes, because that's what got her turned into a leopard for a quick minute, because she had an issue with Moses's wife being black, and so she was a darker skinned woman. And
she was black. She was the first black lady.
She was.
There you go.
And so Miriam had a little bit of
first black lady.
She was the first Barack Obama.
So she got a little beside herself. Like, don't we all hear from God, Moses?
Yeah.
Hey, you need a I don't like your wife.
But she probably said that, because you gotta think about it. She did raise him, so she probably thought about him as her son. She was the oldest, so she was always that woman figure in his life, and then he come marry outside their race. This woman outside their race, who was also very strong-willed herself. You know what I'm saying? So she has an issue. She was like the mother, This is my baby. How you gonna tell me about my son?
This is a great lesson. She's a perfect example for a lot of women in our generation currently, because a lot of ladies are raised up in single parent homes and stuff like that. So they're like second mama sidekick. I was like that.
No, that thing about
he died already. I think he had already passed away. So, for her to have to step up in that leadership role and, be a help to the mom, that we also have to learn how to let the young men that we help raise and grow up be who they are, men.
But wasn't their mother working? Huh? Wasn't their mother working? Because wasn't she one of the people that
eventually she had passed away before they lived?
But I'm saying, wasn't she one of the people that was helping building the
They all was. They was all slaves up in there, but they had passed away.
But then she took care. She had to babysit while her mother worked.
Right. So that's what I was saying, that,
Mm.
being that oldest child, especially if you're a female and you're the oldest of younger siblings and stuff like that, sometimes, we don't know how to step out of that responsibility role.
And she's
You know,
speaking
when
from because she's the
when
oldest.
yeah, so I can relate to
Mhm.
Miriam, when we get older, and our younger siblings make decision, and people that we are in charge of and stuff like that. Sometimes we like to still take that influence that we have and still rule over them. And we have to learn how to allow people to cultivate and come into who they are, and take a step back. It's good that we are strong and we can have our opinions, and we can feel
Mhm.
how we want to feel about some
Mhm.
things, but
Mhm.
we have to be responsible enough to know that we need not to override the men or women of God that God has set
Amen.
over us, or set over our
Amen.
lives, or place them in roles. Like if
Amen.
my younger brother became a pastor, yeah, I'm his older sister or whatever the case might be, but I need to honor his role
Right.
as my leader,
Right.
and things like that. It's all right to give counsel, it's all right to give advice, but you also need to learn how to not override the men and women of God in your life, and honor their positions as well.
But not only that, she had to honor that first lady too. So that's what was the problem. She didn't want to honor the first lady of the house, because she felt like she was still the first lady of the house. And so she had to realize that she was not no more. And so she got put in check and she learned her lesson. Did she not?
She did. She
Okay.
did.
Sometimes to take it with correction and had to reel it in and be able to listen. You gotta sit down for a little bit. You
You
gotta sit
also
it
got to
down.
be careful with your attitude too, because what she did was rope her brother in it. She roped Aaron into it.
He
It
had
was
bad counsel.
it was bad enough that she had
Bad
her
counsel.
own prejudice and her own feelings, but then she roped Aaron into
He got bad
to
counsel.
aligning with her to go against the man of God. He might have been their youngest brother, but he was the one whom God has, set
Right.
and called and honored, whatever. And so, she rounded up her backup. Come on, we gonna go confront Moses. And God was like, everybody after 10.
Yeah.
Everybody. Because
Everybody.
I'm about to settle this right now. I come to y'all in dreams. I talk to Moses face to face.
Yeah.
Let's get a difference in the relationship here. The relationship is
Mhm. Mm.
me and him. And since you got a problem because you don't like somebody's pigment of the skin, I'm about to change
Yeah,
yours.
she definitely
That's
flip
exactly
flopped
what
a
happened.
lot. And I think of a person who is double-minded. I think she struggled definitely, and I don't want to be that way. And I definitely can relate, because in the past, when I struggled with my relationship with God, it was one day I was on fire and I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, listening from the Lord, doing right. And then the next day I was over there.
Doing the bra.
And of course, getting punished just like she got punished, and getting corrected. And I said, you know what? I'm tired of getting a whooping. I'm tired of getting a whooping. Let me just stay where I know I find safety and truth and love and peace and joy. And I don't have to worry about what anyone else is doing. I don't have to worry about someone else's wife. I don't have to worry about someone else's daughter, someone else's job. I'm in my lane, and
Right.
the lane I'm supposed to be in, and
Right.
that's it. I don't have to worry. And I think that was probably a part of her problem. She was just
In
dipping
her
in
own
many
way.
pots.
And she kept getting in her own way because she kept getting into the
Oh,
flesh
yes.
instead of, because she was a prophet, so she heard from God. So she had a relationship, she knew from God, but then she just got into her own little fleshy
Yeah.
self.
It's interesting, just that last part though, how you can be serving God but still deal with disobedience and the issues, and like you say, being double-minded and all over the place. I just find it interesting that it's so relatable.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
definitely
It
relatable.
is, and it's a struggle. It really is a struggle. Like what Paul said, how Like the spirit is willing, the flesh is weak. You just struggle, like evil is always present. And I'm quite sure it was a struggle with her. See, they were in new surroundings, they were in new things, and and now her brother is like leading the one that she took care of. He's leading people. He's married to a stranger, outsider, what they consider outsider, and and things like that. And so
And
that's probably what
she was having a power struggle. That's
She was.
exactly what it was. She was
was.
having a power struggle. That's why when she was saying, "Don't we all hear from God?" She was having a struggle
She
of
was having-
being submitted to the people over her. And she might have felt like maybe she was better fit to be in a leadership role, or whatever the case might be, but God did not choose her to operate and to function in the capacity in which Moses was functioning in. And sometimes us as as women, sometimes we can get into a power struggle, with other females that we might be in business with or working with or in ministry with, even sometimes with our spouses. Because before we were married to them, we were our own independent person.
God knows.
And so now we're having to submit who we parts of ourselves and be submitted to a leadership when we're used to being our own leader beside God. I don't need to talk to anybody but God. Because come on, ladies.
Yes.
We know there's women. We in ministry can be like that. The only person I need to lead me and guide me is God. And we can't take counsel or instructions or critiques, from leaderships and the people that God have placed over us, because we want to be ruled by ourselves and be ruled by God only. And sometimes we don't even want to be ruled by Him because we want to do what we want to do. And this is why we can't submit to our leaders. This is why we can't submit and honor the gifts of our brothers and sisters. I don't care if they're just an usher. I don't want to sit in the seat that you want to sit me in, because I want to sit here every Sunday because that's where I want to sit.
I think that's what my problem was. Maybe that's why I'm still single, because
you don't want to be submitted.
Man.
The thing is because us as women, we have been trained to think that submission means a bad thing, that it means that we're being oppressed or we're being forced to be lower than the man of God, or the woman of God that God has placed over our lives, or our husbands, that we're being placed in a place of being a slave to him, or whatever the case might be. But just as us being submitted to Christ, I'm not a slave.
Right.
He's my father. I'm a daughter.
That submission is not easy. I don't know what you're talking about. That submission in marriage
is not easy. But you're not a slave, right? You're not a slave.
You're right. But the whole process is still submission. It's still dying to self and pushing, especially if you're set in your ways, like you're saying, when you get to a certain age, you have to put your ways, your habits, your thought process, your me, and what I'm doing today. And this is what I'm eating, you do have to submit that and take into consideration your husband.
That was something that was very strong, because for me, I'm a very strong-willed person. I'm a very strong in personality, strong in speech and everything like that. And my husband, he's very gentle soul. He's a very, very gentle soul. So it's easy. It would be easy for me to overpower him with my female dominance or whatever the case might be. And one thing that God really helped me on is that being submitted to him, meaning that he is responsible for me. And with me being appropriately submitted to him, I can either make him being in charge over me or responsible for me hard for him, or I can make it easy for him. And could I say that I love him if I don't respect him and his role and his responsibility for me, and make it hard for him?
Coming up on Kingdom Conversation.
And then she goes and get a little above herself and decide to put Aaron in all of her thinking. and what Moses is doing and how he's doing this and, all of that murmuring and grumbling. So God had to show her individually, along with her brother that agreed with her, I am still God.
Something that someone else has done to you in the past, and now you can't trust new leadership or the people who are covering you.
That wisdom says, I don't need to attack this person, but maybe if I approach them in a different way, then they can receive what I'm saying.
Be a part of our community. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. Make sure that you are liking, that you're commenting, and that you are subscribing to our YouTube page as well. And don't forget to hit that notification button so this way you are made aware of all the new content that we place out. Also on our website, you can subscribe to our blog so this way you are in the know of all our updates, of all the new people who are joining our communities, and ways that you can get involved with us here at Kingdom Women Enterprise.